And we are live.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Njabulo Mdluli. I will be your facilitator for this session. In this session, we have with us Miss Zandile Ndlovu, also known as the Black Mermaid. She is a first South African Black free diving instructor, and she is also a founder of the Black Mermaid Foundation. So she will be telling us about building your career in the marine environment and highlighting opportunities, first steps, and networking. So she'll be telling us based on her case study in the Black Mermaid Foundation. So I've been asked before about if the mermaid is a real thing. So after this session, I hope I will have a solid foundation. So over to you, Miss Zandile.
Thank you so much, Njabulo, for that introduction. So first things first, I wanted to say, thank you for having me, but also welcome to everyone who's listening to the African Youth Summit of 2021. I think it's such a powerful time to be able to witness the youth using their voices for ocean protection. It is mind-blowing to me. So I wanted to expand my topic to speak to pursuing the unknown. So unfortunately, you guys are going to have a talking head, but at the end, there's going to be a video that shares a little bit more of my heart and some of the explorations that have happened underwater. So one, I'm a freediving instructor who didn't grow up anywhere near the sea. This means that one, I've never been a big swimmer, but two, I taught myself how to swim. And my first time looking beneath the surface of the ocean was in 2016 at the tender age of 28 years old. And these are all very big things, considering that in the arena where I play and work, there are a lot of people who grew up around the sea, swimming in the sea, exploring in the sea, in ways that I never thought possible, all from the tender age of 5 years old. Growing up in Soweto, I always thought that the careers that would be accessible to me would be to be a doctor, a policeman, a lawyer, or a teacher. And as the years progressed, I realized two things: that it's okay to not know what you want to be, and it's possibly a hard ask at the age of 15 years or 18 years old, which led me to my later realization that it is honoring your being that brings you to your purpose. So I have never fit in. I've never fit in. And I battled for a large part of my life to understand why I couldn't fit in. And in 2016, on the snorkel trip, I get to see the life that lives under the water. And in this moment, everything changes for me. All of a sudden, I belong. And all of a sudden, there's a place that I can call home. But it also felt like home in a way that I can never explain or understand. But this knowing led me to pursuing the sea, so I could be here more and live in the truth that this place could be for me too. Wild, raw, and overpowering, but also a place where my idea of comfort could be pushed continuously while held in the biggest love I've ever known. And so the question I get asked often is, how did I get to doing the work that I do? So I quit the corporate world in 2015 doing key accounts management, and I started my own consultancy with other two partners, and which was successful in its own right. And at the end of this work in 2020, I qualified as a freediving instructor. This was the hardest thing I'd probably ever done. And it took 7 months and lots of hard work in the water. But this 7 months changed so much of my inner that I knew that this was my calling and this is where I needed to be. And that I needed to find a way to make it my work. So my experience in snorkeling, in scuba diving, in free diving, in spearfishing, in surfing, was realizing that the water space was not representative. It was not racially diverse, not recreationally or professionally. All the marine biologists that I knew were white. And I wondered, how do we make the space more diverse? Because it is in representation that we begin to believe that we can too. and we can expand the dreams of what we think is possible. And so I had 3 questions. 1, what do I need to make this space more diverse using this qualification that I have now, facilitate this change? 2, what have I always needed to see? 3, how do we consume data as humans? And so with these questions, I knew I had work to do. If we were to see diverse representation professionally, recreationally, and in sport, we would need to start the work at school level. And so this is what the foundation focuses on in 2 parts. Working with ocean-facing communities to create the needed connection with the ocean by facilitating snorkel trips. And in landlocked communities, educating about the ocean and what we can do from where we are. And both, the end in mind is to expand the idea of ownership. These seas belong to us too. And that water, this is the most important thing, that water is a Black people thing too. Revisiting the narratives that we grow up with, particularly as Black people, in hope to inspire the youth to venture into these waters and become the needed future guardians of these seas. Additional work in the foundation is writing about how we create this diverse community we seek, creating content that affirms that these waters belong to all, and to expand the stories we grew up with in a way that invites versus how it often causes fear. And that was my case. And there was always just this fear. And what did it mean to be a storyteller that says, maybe you could as well, you know, just so that it invites. I then went further. I needed to see this representation. At that point, I knew very few Black and brown people in the water. And so I went seeking to affirm that there were actually Black and brown marine biologists, oceanographers, dive masters, dive instructors, conservationists, you name it. I needed to see them and I had to find them. And so I spoke to over 50 people from across the world, Black and brown people, listening to their journeys of how they got there and what representation meant to them, because I knew what representation meant to me and I needed to know that it was the same across the world. It was all the things and conversations I needed to hear too. These shoes where others had accomplished, and because they had, I had. What motivated me? The water, of course, realizing that everyone had to experience this feeling at least once in their lives, that the ocean must become more accessible. And so what tools are needed to bridge this gap? What are my challenges? My foundation is self-funded, and this remains a large challenge because the ability to reach is dependent solely on work opportunities. And so I'm actively doing the work to get partners on board to ensure that the work can be done more consistently through the year, reaching more youth and expanding the world of the possible. But what remains is the dream. The numbers will come. What are my wins? The joy in my heart to be able to do the work that I love most daily, to get messages from youth across the country who interface with my work or content and are inspired to try. I've always hoped to touch just one life. And when mothers, teachers, students come back and share their journeys that were started because I challenged what they believed about water, I'm eternally rewarded. And so the ultimate question, what do you need to start yours? Start where you are with what you have. People often speak about needing to get funding, but this is never the part that is needed to start. It starts with our hearts and a clear intention of what we want to achieve. And you don't need a title either. You just start where you are, as you are. And in doing this work, partners will come on board to support the work that you are already doing, to support your vision. You have a cell phone, send a WhatsApp group and gather your friends and do a beach clean or a river clean. Arrange a petition, just start. Keep speaking about your vision everywhere you go. And in speaking and actioning your vision, people will begin to listen and partner you. Social media has become a powerful platform for change and finding communities that share the same vision as you. And so when you do your outreach, place all these pictures on these platforms. And in all work, we ultimately hope to influence policy too. And so you need to do this work too. What have I learned? You don't need anyone's permission to make your dream possible. The dream was placed in your heart for a reason. And however big and however challenging, trust the journey ahead of you because it will be hard, but be encouraged because hard things make us stronger in ways we didn't know we needed. And that is me. And I hope you enjoy the video that I have put together. That is my love. And so I wanted to share that.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much to the Black Mermaid. And I think you are a great inspiration, and you've come to the right platform and at the right time because we are celebrating Women's Month in South Africa. So I think yeah. So for those who still uh, don't don't believe that MMA is a real thing, so they can go follow the Black Mermaid on Instagram and see what a MMA is. And I can relate to most of your story because I also come from a landlocked area
Yeah.
and didn't know what marine biology is. So yeah, without wasting time, I will be taking questions. I see the charts and there are hands that have been already raised, so I can take people in to ask the questions.
Hi, Jabulo. I'm strong here. Thank you, Zandile, for your talk. I hope you can hear me. Very, very, very interesting and inspiring as well. I'm a marine biologist, but I can tell you I can't swim. So it's very inspiring to hear that. And also I'm inspired because whenever I think about swimming or joining any diving courses, I always assimilate that with the cost associated with those with those courses. So thank you for inspiring me to change my perception. And I can assure you, you have a follower in me, and I'm going to bug you. And I've already followed your page, DM'd you. I'm going to do everything because I do want to get involved. and I do want others as well, including my family, including my friends, to come and join in and feel this experience as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think it's you know it, there are so many assumptions around this marine biology space, and when you say I don't know how to swim, I recognize that we have work to do. And for me, it's not that I'm surprised or I'm not surprised. I just know that as a people, we have work to do in bridging that gap and going to explore. And so, DM me, let's make it happen. Let's find that water space and let's let you see your first turtle or moray eel or all of my favorites or sharks. Let's do it.
Thank you for that, Armstrong. I don't see anything yet on the Q&A. I'm not sure if I should go over the chats. Okay, so here I have Jamila said, I can definitely relate with not belonging and starting to find my tribe through the water, even though I am not the best swimmer. So I think there are a lot of people here who also relate to your story. And she says yes, representation. Um,
Njabulo,
okay.
if I can just add in over there, I've actually often been asked why didn't I join one of the other scuba diving businesses or free diving businesses as an instructor? Why do I do the work in the communities, and why do I not go the easy way? And I always say I want to hold space for particularly Black and brown people because I know the pain we come from. I know the stories that we hold in our bodies. And I want to just create a safe space. It's not to say that I only work with one niche, but I know that I have work to do. And that work is to hold space for the healing that needs to happen, the safe exploration. And I think it's an important place that we recognize that that is needed too. A place where there are no assumptions, but a complete understanding of where I come from and the stories that I grew up with and the fears that I had to go through in order to dive deep into the ocean.
Yeah. And I see there aren't any questions yet. If there are any questions, guys, please raise hands and post in the Q&A. I see a message from Abd El Hamid Sharif. He says, I see similar ones for US and European youth, but not for us. So there is a lack of funding and organization. There aren't established oceanography research centers within Africa that organize Pan-African marine expeditions. Why don't we have something like the American Sea Semester? Uh, I can't really relate on that, but I know a little about semester in here in South Africa. Yeah, if you
I
can
see
help.
I see Zamo. I don't know if maybe I'm reading from the right place, but Zamo says, were you ever afraid of the creatures underwater, especially the bigger ones? Are you seeing that question? Is it for me?
Uh, oh yes, I think it's for you. You can go through.
Oh, okay. Was I ever afraid of the creatures underwater? The weirdest answer is no. And if I have to tell you what marine animal I think I look like, you're gonna freak out. Moray eels, I feel like, morays they look scary, but I feel like that's what I look like. And so everyone always says, like, what does that even mean? The first time I looked beneath the surface of the water, it felt like everything looked like me and I looked like all of it. And so even like when I did my first shark dive, I remember looking and thinking, all of these sharks are around the boat. And they were like, jump. And I jumped. And that was the end of it. And I don't know what it is, but my body and the innermost parts of me, I haven't come across a place where I'm like, yo, I'm scared.
Yeah.
But I think it just comes from a place of realizing that I had to release my own fears and face my own fears and the stories that I grew up with, so that I could be there in a way that is needed.
Yeah. Okay. I think we are out of time, but I
Okay.
will read just one comment by Abd. He says, "Is there a way to use this conference as a launching pad for a yearly African Ocean Winter School, one that is hosted by an African Marine Research Center that could receive international funding to host African students from across the continent?" Wow, I think that's a very good point. Is there anything you want to say on that, Zandi?
I think that would absolutely be amazing. Like when I look at some of the presentations that we've had today from the youth and from yesterday, there are so many skills that we'd be able to impart. And to look at something like that would be so powerful, because again, we're changing the narrative. That's part of the big thing, changing the narrative around Black people and water, but also allowing for the healing that needs to happen. And I think we would be amiss to recognize that the fear that can be in our bodies as Black people in relation to deep waters, it's not just by chance. And I often speak about the slave trade, and I often speak about apartheid in South Africa, and we need to recognize that as a large part of our healing work as we enter these waters, because lineages and bloodlines have died in these waters. And so what does it mean to do the healing work as we travel and journey into these waters? So I think it's a work that needs to be done, but also a safe space needs to be held for the exploration and the healing as well.
Yes, and thank you very much, Zandi. Again, you are a very big inspiration to the youth. I will end this by encouraging the youth who are also attending here to share their own stories or what they have done in the ocean space, and I will add the email where they can share the stories in the chat session. So it's yeah, I've added in the chat. So yeah, I think we're way out of time. And thank you everyone for attending. And I hope you were inspired by this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Njabulo. And thank you, Randall, for your comments. I really appreciate it. Cheers.